All right, so get this. We're going deep today into AI policy, thanks to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you sent in this article,
Hmm.
AI Policy Considerations, a Macro Overview
Okay.
by Sam Ghosh. It's on LinkedIn.
Interesting.
It's a big one.
I bet.
And guess what? It's part one of two.
Oh,
So we're just tackling this first part today, but it's a lot to unpack.
I can
It
imagine.
seems like every government's trying to figure out what to do with AI.
Oh, yeah, it's a big deal. And Sam Ghosh, he's kind of a big deal, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a published author, engineer, has an MBA, the whole nine yards.
So we can trust this guy knows his stuff.
Exactly. And he breaks down AI policy into 6 key areas.
Okay, so not just for the techies then.
Not at all. This affects all of us.
So where do we even begin?
Well, I think the one that grabs everyone's attention first is security.
Oh, yeah. When I think AI, I'm thinking self-driving cars, not like national security.
Right, but that's what's so interesting about this article. It highlights how AI is already changing the game in national security.
Okay, how so?
Well, there's this security expert, Dr. Benjamin Jensen. He testified before the U.S. Senate about how AI could give some countries a huge advantage.
Oh.
Yeah, but also create totally new kinds of threats we haven't even thought of yet.
So not just like robots with guns, but something more.
Right, think algorithmic warfare.
Okay, that sounds a little sci-fi.
It kind of is, but it's happening, using AI to analyze tons of data, predict what the enemy is going to do,
Wow.
even making decisions in the heat of the moment. It's like having a superpowered chess computer running your whole military.
Whoa, and what about this data poisoning thing?
Oh, yeah, that's scary stuff.
Is it like hacking, but for AI?
It's worse. It's like sneaking bad information into the data that's used to train the AI.
Oh, so it learns the wrong things.
Right, and it could have disastrous consequences. Imagine a self-driving car's AI mistaking a stop sign for a speed limit sign because the data was messed with.
That's terrifying.
And this article also dives into how different countries are approaching AI governance. It's fascinating.
So like, are we all on the same page?
Not even close. The U.S. is more open, wants to encourage innovation.
Freedom.
Exactly. But China, they're more about central control.
So who's got the right idea?
Well, the U.S. approach might be faster, but it's harder to control.
Makes sense.
China's might be more secure, but it could stifle creativity. It's a tough balance.
Yeah. No easy answers there. And then there's cybersecurity.
Oh, yeah, AI is a double-edged sword there.
Right. It can be used to attack us, but also to defend us.
Exactly. We've already got AI-powered phishing scams and deepfakes, but then AI is also being used to make security systems way smarter.
So it's an arms race.
It is. And we can't forget that the AI systems themselves can be attacked.
Oh, right. If someone gets a hold of a powerful AI model.
The damage could be huge. So, yeah, security is a big one when it comes to AI policy.
Definitely a lot to think about. And what about the economic side of things? I think a lot of people are worried about AI taking their jobs.
And they have a right to be. This article cites a report from CB Insights. AI investment is booming right now.
Even with everything else going on.
Even with overall venture capital being down, that tells you where things are headed.
Wow, so AI is the place to be.
It seems that way. PwC even estimated that AI could add $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030.
Okay, but $15.7 trillion going where? It's not like everyone's going to become an AI programmer overnight.
Right. That's the key question. A lot of that growth is going to come from AI-driven automation.
So robots doing our jobs.
In a way, but it'll make things more efficient. Think manufacturing, healthcare, finance, even creative stuff.
Okay, so some jobs will be lost.
Inevitably. And the question is, how do we prepare people for that shift?
Right. What are we going to do with all these folks?
Well, the article says governments need to step up, think about retraining programs, safety nets.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's not just about jobs, it's about making sure the benefits of AI are spread out, not just going to a few big tech companies.
How do we do that?
One idea is making sure smaller companies have access to the data and the computing power they need to compete, leveling the playing field.
Exactly. And then there's the whole infrastructure question.
Oh yeah, the internet, the power grid, all that stuff.
Right. We need strong systems to protect us from threats, but also the computing power and data storage to actually develop AI.
So it all comes back to infrastructure.
It always does, and without it, the whole thing falls apart.
So AI policy on the economic front is all about finding the right balance.
It is. It's about encouraging innovation, but also dealing with the potential downsides.
And making sure everyone benefits.
Exactly. And we can't just react to what's happening now, we have to think about the future.
The future, oh boy.
Yeah, and remember, this is just part one of this article.
We're just getting started.
We've only scratched the surface of these issues. We've got security risks, economic upheaval, and we haven't even talked about the ethics of it all yet.
Oh yeah, the ethics, that's a whole other can of worms.
Exactly. That's where things get even more interesting, and that's what we'll be diving into in part two of this deep dive.
All right, so much to think about. AI as a weapon.
AI taking our jobs,
Yeah.
trillions of dollars floating around,
Mhm.
my head spinning a little.
It is a lot, but remember, all this potential impact, it's all built on data.
Okay.
And that's where the next part of this article gets really interesting.
How so?
It dives into the quality of these AI systems.
Okay, so when we talk about the quality of AI, what does that even mean? Is it like some AI gets an A and some get a C?
Well, not exactly. It's more about how reliable and accurate the AI is. Can we trust it to do what it's supposed to do?
So it's not just about a chatbot giving a weird answer. It's like life or death stuff, potentially.
Right. Think about AI making decisions in healthcare or finance.
Or the military, like we talked about before.
Exactly. A tiny mistake could have huge consequences.
So how do we even measure the quality of AI? Especially since we don't always know how it's making decisions.
That's the challenge. A lot of AI, especially the really advanced stuff, it operates in what's called a black box.
A black box.
We know what goes in, we see what comes out, but the process in between, it's kind of a mystery.
So we're trusting this mystery box with important stuff.
Well, we're working on it. The article talks about needing better tools and standards to evaluate how well the AI is doing, even if we can't see inside that black box.
This makes me think about self-driving cars again. If there's a crash, how do we know what went wrong? Was it a sensor, bad software, or did the AI just mess up?
Exactly. And it brings up a big question, liability.
Liability.
Like if an AI system causes harm, who's responsible? The developer, the user, or the AI itself?
Wait, the AI itself? Are we talking about AI being held accountable like a person?
It sounds crazy, but it's a conversation we need to have. Our old ideas about who's to blame might not work in this new world of AI.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. And what about things like intellectual property? If AI creates something, who owns it?
Right, so not just taking our jobs, now it might be stealing our creative ideas too.
Kind of sounds like it.
It's not that simple. The article says AI is blurring the lines of ownership. Do we treat AI creations like any other copyrighted work?
I mean, it was made by something, right?
Yeah, but what about the data that was used to train the AI? Who owns that?
Oh, right. All that data from like the internet and stuff.
Exactly. It gets complicated fast. We've got quality control issues, legal gray areas, potential economic disruption.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
The pattern is complexity.
Sounds about right.
And that's why this article really pushes for new regulatory frameworks. We need rules for AI, but those rules need to be flexible.
Flexible, how so?
AI changes so fast, the rules have to keep up. Can't get bogged down in bureaucracy.
So it's not just about writing laws, it's about having a bigger conversation.
Exactly. And that conversation needs to involve everyone, not just tech companies and governments. We need ethicists, social scientists, even artists and writers, everyone.
So it's about deciding what we want AI to be, not just how it works.
Right. And that conversation needs to be global. AI doesn't care about borders.
Oh, yeah, good point.
We need international cooperation to set standards, prevent countries from cutting corners just to get ahead.
So this isn't just about the U.S. or China figuring things out on their own.
Nope. This has to be a global effort. The article argues that this is a make-or-break moment. We have a chance to shape AI for good, but that window is closing fast.
Well, after all this, I could definitely say I understand why AI policy is such a hot topic.
It's not just hot, it's crucial.
It's a lot more than just should robots have rights, like we see in the movies.
It's about power, responsibility, what it means to be human in a world where machines are getting smarter and smarter.
Ring questions.
Huge ones, and we have to ask them. We have to have the courage to shape the future, not just let it happen to us.
All right, so we've talked about AI turning war upside down, shaking up the economy, and now we're down this rabbit hole of laws and ethics. I'm starting to see why everyone's freaking out about AI policy.
Freaking out is putting it mildly.
Right, it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal, and this last part of the article, it tackles the toughest question of all. How do we actually govern this stuff? We've got AI that can learn and adapt, even create, but our laws, our institutions, they were built for a world where tech wasn't so, well, intelligent.
So it's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Our old ways of doing things just don't work anymore.
The article talks about how those old school ways of regulating things like we do for drugs or chemicals, they might not work for AI. It's just too fast, too unpredictable. What works today might be useless tomorrow.
So what do we do? Just throw up our hands and say, AI, do whatever you want?
No way! But we gotta think differently. The article suggests a few key ideas for AI governance. First, it's gotta be flexible, adaptable. We need rules that can keep up with AI, not get stuck in red tape.
So agile, like a startup.
Exactly. And second, it can't just be the tech companies and the government making decisions.
So who else needs to be at the table?
Ethicists, social scientists, even artists and writers. We need everyone's perspective to make sure we're thinking about all the angles.
So it's not just writing laws, it's having a bigger conversation as a society about what we want AI to be.
You got it. And that conversation, it needs to be global. AI doesn't care about borders.
Oh, right. It's everywhere.
We need countries to work together, set standards, prevent a race to the bottom where everyone's cutting corners just to get ahead.
So this isn't just the US or China figuring things out on their own.
Nope, it's got to be a team effort. The article says we're at a make or break moment. We can shape AI to benefit everyone, but that chance is slipping away fast.
Well, after this deep dive, I can definitely say I get why AI policy is such a big deal. It's way more than just should robots have rights, like we see in the movies.
It's about power, it's about responsibility, it's about what it means to be human in a world where machines are becoming more and more like us.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, but we got to think about these things. We got to be brave enough to shape the future we want, not just the one that happens to us.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our AI policy deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from killer robots to the economy, to what it even means to be intelligent. But don't worry, this isn't the end. We'll be back soon with part 2 of this article, where we'll go even deeper into the ethics and the impact of AI on society. Until then, keep those brains buzzing and stay curious.